Hi, students. This is part 2 sectors of Indian economy. In this video, we are going to learn about comparing the three sectors of Indian economy. Comparison of these three sectors, primary, secondary, and tertiary, in terms of the production, how much they produce, how many number of people are working in this, and the services being generated. On basis of these 3 points we will discuss here. Before that, there is a question: how do we count the various goods and services? I know the total production in each sectors. It's very simple, students. So in every sector of Indian economy, a n number of activities are being performed and people are engaged in that. No wonder, how can we calculate the productions and the value of each sectors? It's very simple. We do not calculate the value of every product, that the n number of products are being produced in every sector. Instead of counting each and every product's value, here the final value of the goods is calculated. Final goods and services. What do you mean by final goods and services, children, here? Let us try to focus over and understand this first. Remember, there is one example. For example, biscuits. Biscuits are manufactured by using the flour, wheat flour, sugar, and so on. Then the biscuits is the final goods, and other products like flour, wheat, sugar, and so on, whatever is being used, they are called the intermediate products or intermediate goods. Here, instead of counting the value of a flour, wheat flour, sugar, here we calculate the final value of the final goods, that is biscuits, which reach to the consumers. Then why are only the final goods and services are counted? There is a reason behind. In the contrast to final goods, goods such as wheat and the wheat flour in this example are intermediate goods. Intermediate goods are used up in the producing final goods and services. The value of final goods already includes the value of all these intermediate goods. Therefore, only the final goods are calculated. After this, we move to the next subheading, that is called the GDP. Children, what do you mean by GDP? Let us try to understand the value of final goods and services produced in each sector during a particular year provides the total production of the sector for that year, and the sum of a production in the three sectors gives what is called the gross domestic product, which is known as shortly GDP of a country. It is the value of all final products and services produced within a country during a particular year, that is called GDP, and thus we come to know about the domestic gross domestic product of our country for the particular year. Then children, we move on a small point: historical changes which occurs in these sectors. Of course, if we go back in the history and just try to understand and highlight some important points about 100 years before, there has been a shift, a scene. In the beginning, there was agriculture which was dominating in terms of productions and providing the jobs and employments to the people. But subsequently, there comes and takes the place of the agriculture, that is secondary sectors. Thereafter, we find the third sector replaced to the secondary sectors. Now, children, we are going to compare these sectors respectively, primary, secondary and tertiary sectors in India. So in order to get a clear information, look at this, a graph of GDP by all three economic sectors. This information or the data is provided for 2 years. One is 1973 and 2003. So you can compare the importance and dominations and the largest sector which remains in the year of 1973 compared to the 2003. Children, look at this. The bottom here, the green color which represents for the agriculture and the yellow represents to the secondary sectors, whereas it is the another one represent to the tertiary sectors. So what you look at here, so here you can see the agriculture, that is primary sector, was the dominant one and which remains more important comparing to the other two. And thereafter we come to the yellow color which is representing the secondary sector. It is a third one, the third place, it stands to the third place, and second place is, that is service sector. So this is all about in the year of 1973. Just look at the graph of 2003, then you can find a great shift in these activities. It is quite vice versa, you can say. What? Either you will see agriculture and secondary sector remains almost the same, equal, neck to neck a comparison, whereas the third sector, tertiary sectors, shift is a very radical change you can see in the year of 2003. What does it shows? That comparatively the tertiary sector's development, or it is the highest rising importance of the tertiary sectors, you can find it out comparatively in these 2 years, that is 1973 and 2003. So why is the tertiary sector becoming so important in India? There could be several reasons. Let us highlight some important reasons. Number one, in any country, several services such as hospitals, educational institutions, post and telegraph services, police stations, village administrations, municipal corporations, defense, transport, banks, insurance companies, and so on. All these are required and they are of very much essential. These can be considered rather a basic services. In developing a country, the government has to take the responsibility for the provision of these services. Therefore, the tertiary sector has radically changed over a short span of period. The second reason is the development of agriculture industry that leads to the development of service sector. Of course, there is no doubt. If you could see the development in agriculture and industry, then automatically you can see the development in the field of tertiary sectors. For example, transportation, trade, storage, banking, communication, and many all these, the activities, automatically they will increase. Then the third reason is a income reason. Income level also rises. A certain section of the people, you can see, the demanding many more services like eating out, tourism, shopping, private hospitals, private schools, professional trainings, etc. So if you check it out, all these demandings of the people around 50 to 100 years before, they were very least. But in present context, the income level of the people has made, or rather it has insisted to them to go for these facilities like services, eating outside, tourism, shopping, private hospitals, private schools, then professional training, and so on. This comes under the third reason why the tertiary sector's importance has raised a lot. We come to the next fourth reason. Over the past decade, students, for example, in certain fields, new services such as those based on information and communication technology have become important and essential. The production of these services has been rising rapidly. We can take for example the telecommunications, or in short, the mobile, internet, computer. So these demands of the people have been included into the list of basic requirements of the people, and that has become very, very essential. As a result, altogether the tertiary sectors and its production has increased a very considerable level. Now children, you look at this graph number 2, which shares the sectors in GDP in percentage. Again, here also we are comparing the same data in the year 1973 and 2003. So how could you see? Just compare. Again, you can find the same information as we compared in the figure number 1, that the GDP by primary, secondary and tertiary sectors. Here also you can see that again the shift over a tertiary sector is the maximum one. Then the question arises before us children here. If it is so that the comparatively the rising importance of the tertiary sectors is much more compared to the other two, then where are most people they are employed? I mean to say, in other word, in which of the sector most of the people are employed? Naturally, the answer would be that the more number of people in the present context, the tertiary sector is there, where the n number of jobs are created. So, children, there we find in our country the underemployment or unemployment is the very, very important issue. Even after a development in all three sectors, we are still not able to cope up with the increasing population and their demand of employment. However, nowadays the government has been making the equal attempt to make the development and innovation, bringing innovations in all these three sectors, so that the more and more new working opportunities can be generated, so that the government could able to provide the working opportunities or the employment to the people. Even then, the study and information makes us quite well confident that in our country, India, this underemployment or unemployment is also happening in every sectors. For example, there are thousands of casual laborers in the service sectors in urban areas who search for daily employment. They are employed as painters, plumbers, repair workers, and many other kinds of such jobs are there. They may spend the whole day but earn very little. Then this is just and the only reason is behind one can come out, the number of working opportunities created in our country are not in proportion to the increasing populations of the country. Children, with this point we come to end of today's session, and the remaining point of the lessons to be continued in the next video. Till then, bye, take care.